Just when you thought Trump might focus on something important, like, I don't know, policy or actual governance, he's back with another top priority, whining about a painting. Yes, you heard that right. Trump is demanding that Colorado take down a distorted portrait of him, because apparently this is what really matters to him right now. Let's talk about this ridiculous situation. So, Trump went on Truth Social to complain that his official portrait in the Colorado State Capitol is, in his words, the worst.
President Trump is complaining about a portrait of himself hanging on a wall at the Colorado State Capitol building. He posted tonight on Truth Social, slamming the artist and Colorado's Democratic governor. He calls the painting purposely distorted and claims people in Colorado are calling and writing to complain about that portrait. He says the portrait was put up by Governor Polis, but here's the thing. The portrait was actually funded by the state's top Republican at the time.
Whether this portrait brings a smile or a scowl to your face, remember that you have the right to do so because this is the United States of America.
He even threw shade at the artist, saying she must have lost her talent because she painted Obama just fine. Classic Trump. If he doesn't look perfect, it must be a personal attack, right? Let's just take a step back. The world is dealing with wars, inflation, climate disasters, and major policy debates. And Trump is out here throwing a tantrum about a painting. Not healthcare, not the economy, not education. A painting. If this isn't peak narcissism, I don't know what is. Governor Polis's team had the perfect response. They basically said, wow, we had no idea Trump was such an art lover. Maybe he should visit and learn about the building's history. The real translation to this is, we don't care. Get over it. And let's not forget, this isn't the first time Trump has been obsessed with his image. Remember when he hung a fake Time magazine cover of himself in his golf clubs? Or when he spent $60,000 in charity money to buy a portrait of himself? The man has a long history of needing to see himself in just the right way. While Trump is busy crying about brushstrokes, people are actually struggling with real issues. But nope, his ego always comes first. And the fact that he's tying this to crime and immigration just shows how desperate he is to turn literally anything into a campaign talking point. So what do you think? Should Colorado cave and take down Trump's distorted portrait? Or should he just get over it?
Trump sharing this photo of Judge Boasberg with former second gentleman Doug Emhoff at a mock trial in 2022 with the caption, "Such a conflict of interest." But it's not unusual for judges to be with politicians at civic education events. And Trump himself was recently photographed with sitting Supreme Court Justice Neil Gorsuch in the Oval Office. As Republicans line up behind Trump, Democrats attempt to fight back. Leading the charge, 83-year-old Bernie Sanders and Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
We're not going to let you undermine the democracy that men and women in this country have fought and died for.
All right, folks, here we go again. Trump is throwing another tantrum, this time over a federal judge simply doing his job. Yep, Judge James Boasberg put the brakes on Trump's latest stunt, mass deportations of alleged Venezuelan gang members. And of course, Trump didn't take that well. What did he do? He ran to his favorite little social media platform, Truth Social, to cry about it. Classic. So let's break it down. Judge Boasberg issued a court order stopping these deportation flights. Why? Because, believe it or not, even immigrants, yes, even the ones accused of crimes, have legal rights. Due process exists for a reason. You can't just round people up and ship them off without proper legal proceedings. But Trump doesn't care about that. He just wants to play tough guy on immigration. And when a judge gets in his way, well, suddenly that judge is the enemy. Trump, being Trump, jumped straight onto Truth Social to rant about Judge Boasberg, claiming he's usurping presidential power. And get this, Trump even called for his impeachment. He's so mad that a judge dared to enforce the law that he thinks the guy should be removed from office. Because, you know, that's totally how the judicial system works. Not. And here's the best part. Trump actually wrote such a conflict of interest on Truth Social. Now, what exactly does he mean by that? Well, it turns out that Judge Boasberg is a longtime federal judge who was appointed to the bench years ago, first by Bush, then elevated under Obama. So, in Trump's mind, if you've ever been appointed by a Democrat, you must be part of the deep state. Never mind that judges are supposed to be independent and follow the law. Nope, not in Trump's world. If you don't rule his way, you must be biased. The irony? This is the same guy who literally handpicked judges like Aileen Cannon, who bends over backward for him. But that's not a conflict of interest, right?
Because Chinese Premier Li Qiang says his country is prepared for shocks that exceed expectations from President Trump's reciprocal tariffs.
We may have unexpected shocks mainly from external factors. When necessary, the Chinese government will introduce new incremental policies to ensure the smooth operation of the Chinese economy.
You just heard from him there essentially saying those external shocks could exceed expectations. So they're preparing that with boosting domestic consumption. He says countries should open their markets in the face of growing economic fragmentation.
President Trump just announced that on April 2nd, he plans to unveil a set of new tariffs as part of something he's calling Liberation Day. Tariffs on imports from a number of countries, including, yes, countries we've called our allies for decades. Now, I'm all for making sure trade is fair, but this feels like a disaster waiting to happen. I mean, we're talking about tariffs that could disrupt entire global supply chains, raise prices on everyday goods, and hurt the very workers he claims to be protecting. I get it, he's trying to address trade imbalances, but the way he's going about it, it's reckless. And let's talk about China for a second. Premier Li Qiang came out today saying China's ready for shocks that exceed expectations in response to these tariffs. Basically, he's saying they've braced themselves for the fallout. And I'll give him credit. China's not sitting back and waiting for this to hit them like a freight train. They're prepared. But here's the thing. They're not just preparing for themselves. They're also pushing for globalization, for countries to open their markets and work together, not isolate. And honestly, I agree with them. This America First approach, it's not just outdated, it's dangerous. We need global cooperation, not this kind of economic isolationism. I mean, think about it. These tariffs could hurt American families too. Yeah, maybe it's not going to hit every single sector, but rising costs for goods, especially for the working class, are inevitable. And that's not even considering the diplomatic fallout. Our allies are already feeling the strain. And trust me, they're not just going to sit there and take it. This is how you start trade wars, not trade agreements. Now, there's a small silver lining. Some reports suggest that these tariffs might be more targeted than we initially feared. Okay, fine. Maybe it's not as sweeping as we thought, and maybe the markets are reacting with a little optimism. But let's not get too carried away here. The fact remains, these decisions are unpredictable. They could backfire in ways we're not even considering yet. Look, as a former liberal, I've got to say it. I am deeply worried about what this means for our future. Tariffs like these are not the solution. We need to be building bridges, not walls. We need to be working together, not undermining the global trade systems that have helped lift millions out of poverty and fueled innovation. Instead of retreating into this kind of protectionism, we need leadership that focuses on diplomacy, on cooperation, on fairness for all countries involved. Donald Trump is flexing his executive power like never before, and legal challengers are struggling to keep up. From firing Democratic FTC members to cracking down on DEI initiatives, Trump is pushing his agenda full speed ahead, sometimes with armed law enforcement. So what's happening, and why is it so hard to stop him? Let's break it down. Over 100 lawsuits have already been filed against Trump's executive actions, targeting his attacks on law firms, DEI programs, and even independent government institutions. But here's the catch. His administration is moving so fast that by the time lawsuits get through the courts, the damage is already done. One of the most shocking moves? Trump's Department of Government Efficiency literally seized control of the U.S. Institute of Peace. Nearly all board members were unlawfully removed, and armed officers took over the building. A judge called it offensive, but still didn't block it. And it gets worse. Trump is detaining migrants at Guantanamo Bay in a legal gray zone where they're shackled and held in solitary confinement. The ACLU tried to stop it, but the administration moved detainees in and out so quickly that by the time courts caught up, it was too late. Legal experts are calling this strategy whack-a-mole. Trump acts first, knowing that the courts move too slowly to stop him in real time. One day he says he's complying. The next day, bam, another executive order. Trump's attack on DEI programs is another prime example. His executive orders don't even define DEI, making it impossible to challenge in court. It's vague by design, to silence organizations and push them into compliance out of fear. This isn't just about politics. This is about democracy, about checks and balances, about whether one man can bulldoze over our institutions unchecked. Trump's strategy is clear. Overwhelm the courts, dodge accountability, and push his agenda no matter the cost. If you're enjoying the coverage and want to stay updated on this story and others like it, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.